Hi, everybody. This is Karen Hooley, and I'm doing my second live this week. We're going to be working on the mystery crochet along, the last clue. I can't believe we're already at the last clue. Hi, Linda. It's nice to see you here. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully, we'll have a couple other people pop in as I'm going along. But one of the first things I want to talk about is the last clue. Remember at the beginning, I had shown you these three colors that I was going to do. And this is what I have left of these colors. And they're about the same, which is kind of cool. And if I put them all together, they probably would do clue 4 for me. But since I want the clue 4 to be all a solid color and not striped, I went ahead and got another one of these of the blue. I decided we're going to use this blue because it matches. So I'm starting with blue and ending with blue. Blue is my favorite color. So, but these I'm going to be using for something else. I think one of the things that I have a lot of right now is a lot of fingering weight yarns that are like about this much, maybe a little less than some of them. But what I want to do is I haven't made a pet Afghan in a very long time. My two cats totally destroyed their blankets that my son actually made them when we got them. We adopted them, and he actually crocheted 2 100% wool blankets that we felted down for them, and those have been long gone. And so a couple weeks ago, someone who was watching with us mentioned that she wanted to learn how to do a rectangular granny square. And I pulled that pattern out and I thought, what a better way to teach that granny square as well as create something for my cats. So I'm going to be using a lot of these odds and ends. I'm just going to kind of mix them up to make a pet blanket. So because they keep taking ours, so it's time for them to have a blanket of their own. So that's what's going to happen with these guys, along with a bunch of others I have in my stash. But in the meantime, oh, yay. Hi, Martha. Hi, Colleen. I'm glad you guys are here. I was just getting started because I wanted to make sure people were popping in. I also want to tell you that yesterday I got some yarn, including this one from Knitting Fever. And she included with the yarn these magnets. They're actually magnets that say I love yarn and then knittingfever.com. And so the winners of the goodie bags for the Mystery Crochet Along are all going to get one of these too. So I'm going to make sure those go into the bags later today, right after this. But I wanted to show you guys, I have a bunch of these. They're all stuck together, but I have 6 that'll go, one in each bag. And then I have a couple here. I'll probably keep one, and then I'll probably put another one in a goodie bag in the future. So, so there you go. You guys are getting some pretty good swag this time around. Let's see. Brat doesn't get natural fibers. She gets acrylic, so she doesn't chew. Yeah. My cats I've never had a problem with my cats chewing my yarn. Even as a kitten, neither one of them really attacked my yarn. I mean, maybe they'd swipe at it if they were sitting on my lap, but they never, ever, ever chewed. I can leave a project out on the couch and they won't touch it. They might knock it off the couch, but they won't touch it. Oh, good. I'm glad, Colleen. I'm really glad that you're almost finished. This one, I think this clue, I mean, it's got a lot of stitches. Believe me, it took me a little while to get that first row done last night, and I wanted to do that on purpose so I could actually start working on the what do you call it? The actual the edging part. But I'm going to show you what I did. So I finished clue 3, and I did just the first row of clue 4. So it's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of stitches. And I know there's someone that posted on the forum yesterday that went, oh man, more stitches. And you know, when you're working a triangle shawl, or any shawl actually, from the top down, you're always just going to keep growing as far as the number of stitches. And the way I did this shawl, I wanted the width not to grow as fast. Well, I wanted the width to grow really fast, but I didn't want the number of rows to grow really fast. So at the top edge isn't super, super long, but the way the shawl fills itself out, you're gonna have a lot of stitches to do that. So before I get started, anybody have any questions for me? I thought I'd just start with that really quick because I don't think today's gonna go very long as far as the working on the actual stitches. Trying to think if there's anything that I want to talk about with this. Oh, and of course I hit my keyboard and changed my screen on me. Okay, since nobody's really popping in right now, I'll just get started. The row that I did, if you look at the pattern, is row 63, which is just all double crochets, and it's worked pretty much like row 2 is on the first clue. So it's just, I'm going to put this up as best as I can. It's just all double crochets all the way across. Can you guys see that? There we go. And there's the point. And then, of course, the point has a double crochet with the chain ones on either side so that we get the increases at the point. But from now on, from row 64 to the end, we're not really increasing anywhere. Fortunately, the way those chain loops that are in there, they will allow for some stretch in the edging. So not actually doing actual increases everywhere is not going to be a problem. When you go to block, you'll notice everything will stretch really nicely. And because we're using single crochets at this point for the next 3 rows, yes, 3 rows. They really aren't getting that tall, so we don't have to worry about the stretch in the height either. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm only going to do, because there are so many stitches, I'll just tangle myself up. Since there are so many stitches, I'm only going to do a couple repeats of on one side. I'm not going to go all the way to the point because the only thing that changes anywhere in this particular row is at the point where, and I'll talk about that, but even though I won't be able to show you that, but then on the end. So it really, the beginning and the end are match each other, and then the center point, instead of working in double crochets, you're going to be doing single crochets in the chain 1 space on either side of the point. And your first chain loop is going to be in that point, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So for row 64, you're going to chain 1 and turn. I need to grab my yarn here. So I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn. And then I'm going to use the actual words here so that I am speaking better than reading a chart. Because sometimes when I read a chart pattern, my brain is going faster than my mouth. And so everything comes out in the wrong order because my brain works differently than when I'm speaking. So I use the words when I'm talking for that reason. Otherwise, I mean, if I was working with you one-on-one, we could work the chart together and we could talk about it. But when I'm speaking to a group, even when I'm teaching live classes, I've always have the words in front of me. And you guys might be looking at the chart, but I'm talking by the words. Okay, so we chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. So that's where those increased stitches are at the beginning of the row. And then it says, in first 2 stitches, single crochet in first chain 1 space. So that's just working right in the chain. And then it says single crochet in the next 5 doubles. So we're going to do 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if you look at what I just did, because the single crochets are so short, it really doesn't, I mean, you're looking at the back side of the crochets there, but it really doesn't look like anything's happening quite yet. So after we do that, we're going to single crochet, chain 4, single crochet in the next double crochet. So all of that's done in the next double crochet. Anytime you see parentheses like that, it always means all of that is going to be done wherever it says right after those parentheses. So now this shawl is getting to the point where it wants to fall off my lap as I work. So, yep, there it goes. I gotta figure out how to, okay. I'm gonna scoot back on my chair. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna single crochet in the next stitch. So there's a single, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet in that stitch again. So I'm going to try to bring it as close as I can here. So we did all those all the single crochets first on here on this side, and then you'll see this loop's going to get in the way. It's kind of made a big hole here where my hook's going through. That's the stitch that we did a single crochet. Here's the chain 4 loop, and then another single crochet. So if you can see that, the hole will disappear as you're working. It just gets stretched out as you're working, depending on your fibers. If you're using something like cotton or linen, it may keep that big hole, but usually something that's stretchy like wool or acrylic will bounce back. So we've done that stitch, and then it says repeat from asterisk to the last 4 stitches before the mark stitch. And remember, the mark stitch is the center spine of our shawl. So the asterisk started at the single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do single crochet, chain 4, 3, 4, single crochet. So that's your repeat. 5 single crochets and then the loop stitch. So then I'm going to do a couple more of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then one more. I'm just going to do one more set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the key with making sure your counts are going to work with this is making sure that you do those 5 single crochets in between each chain loop. If one of them you do 4 or 6 because you aren't paying attention, it's going to throw everything else off on the pattern. So it's really, really important to make sure. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I am notorious for doing that. So just one of those things to watch for. Okay, so I did 4 repeats of those loops. So I've got 4 loops there. Now, just to make this work for me, when I do the next row for you guys, I'm going to add 5 more at the other end, 5 more singles, just so that when I start row 65 to show you, even though I'm like not even a quarter of the way through the side of the row, I can't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just so that you guys can see how the rows come together. So there's my 4 stitches or my 4 loops, and I have 5 double crochets on that side, and I have 5 double crochets plus what's at the end of the row here on this end. Okay, so for row 65, let's say I've gone all the way across, I'm ready to go. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to single crochet in the first 6 single crochets. So you always are going to start in the first one right next to the turning chain because single crochets are short. So you don't need to worry about the turning chain being a stitch. And then I got to look at the chart here really fast just to be make sure I'm doing the right thing. Okay, so when you're starting at the edge of the row, you're going to have some extra single crochets there. You're going to have actually 2 extra single crochets. So I'm actually going to do less than 6 here because I want to make sure I skip those last 2 before the loop. Okay. So then once you've done your single crochets at the beginning, you're going to single crochet, chain 5, single crochet 5 times in the next chain 4 loop. So I'm going to chain 2 before I do that. And then here's my first chain 4 loop. So here I've got the last 2 single crochets before the loop unworked. So then I'm going to single crochet, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet, and then chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then into the loop, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have that little repeat. So it looks like what you've got here, Martha, I'll get to you in 1 second. So inside that, gotta turn this a little, there we go. So here is that chain 4 loop right here. And then here is the 3 chain 5 loops inside that chain 4 loop. So you kind of get like a little half of a flower or a little fleur-de-lis or whatever you want to call it. Little tulip, some people call that a tulip, right there. So Martha said, yes, I had to frog back 4 rows of clue 3. Yep, and it was short 4. Yep, that is exactly why I've been saying all along, make sure your counts are right, because it doesn't matter so much if you can fudge the other rows, but if you don't have the counts at the end of clue 3 right, you're gonna be off for clue 4. It's just how it is. So you've got to have your stitch counts. Unless you want to do the math to try to figure it out. I'm not going to do the math for you on this one. It is cute, isn't it, Linda? I really like that little flower. Okay, so after we do that, we're going to chain 2, and you're going to skip 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And you're going to single crochet in the next single crochet, which should be dead center of the single crochets on either side of the loops here. And then you're going to chain 2 again, and then you're going to make this little flower again. So you insert single crochet, chain 5, single crochet, chain 5, 2, 4, 5, single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet, and then we chain 2, and then we are going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet, chain 2. Chain 2, it is chain 2, yeah. Okay, so there's 2 little flowers now. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up so you guys can see what a bunch of them strung together looks like. And I'm working on, so just so you guys know while I'm doing this, I'm working on a new system. I'm thinking I'm going to get a new system of how I'm going to go live on YouTube so that I don't have to sit here with my arms way up here so you can see the camera. Don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm pricing out a whole bit of equipment that'll allow me to use a tablet instead of my computer screen to do all of this with you guys. So hopefully in the near future, I won't look like I'm flopping my wings here as I'm crocheting with you. At least that's what it feels like. I don't know if that's what it looks like to you guys, but for me, it feels really weird. Oops. One extra chain there. 1, 2. So Linda, you said you count every half row, and I do that too. I do that too usually. I always try to make sure before I go on to the next row that both sides have the same number of stitches and that the total counts are right. And that's kind of why I gave you the numbers for in between the chain one spaces too in some spots, because it makes it easier to count instead of counting the whole row. Saves on ripping back. Yes, it does. When I was learning to crochet, my grandmother used to make me rip out all the time because it had to look good. And I am a big proponent of not having to rip out unless you absolutely have to. Okay, so there are my 4 little flowers, half flowers. And then when you get to the end of the row, you're going to just single crochet in the last 5 singles after you chain 2. So I still have 5 single crochets here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you look at it, when you finish the last little flower, you're going to chain 2 and then single crochet, and then you still have 5 single crochets left. So at the very end, you're actually going to have 6 single crochets before your loops start. And that's important to know on either end of your shawl. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn for row 66, and this is the last row. And you're going to single crochet in the first single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to skip 5 single crochets, and you're going to do 7 single crochets in each of the next 5 chain 5 loops. So it says in the actual pattern says 7 single crochet in next chain 5 loop 3 times. So there you go. I just reworded it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I go over to the next one. 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so before I go any further, I just want you to see up close. I'm going to turn this. Now you're looking at the right side of the fabric. So you can see that each one of these chain loops kind of opens up almost like a clover even. You could call it, a 3-leaf clover. So the loops are covered with single crochets, so they kind of open them up and make them stand up really nice. And then when you block it, they'll stand really, really nice. This is actually, you see this used a lot in different crochet stitches, but this is actually very, very, very traditional Italian crochet lace. Italian crochet lace tends to use a lot of chain stitches and then wraps those chain stitches with single crochets to make them stand up and be stiff and open up. So I kind of picked this edging. I modified it heavily, but I picked this particular edging because I really like the little Italian bit to it. So there's a little bit of crochet history there for you. Okay, so we finished those loops. Then you're going to chain 2. Yep. And of course, I twisted everything because I turned my work. I was showing you. There we go. There we go. So chain 2. skip skip the next chain space. So remember we did chain twos and then a single crochet and then chain two. So you're going to skip this first chain two space. And then single crochet in that next single crochet. So right here is that single. So you're going to single crochet in that. And then you're going to chain two again. And then you're going to do the same thing where you do 7 single crochets in each chain 5 loop. Now you'll notice that the loops are chain 5s, but you're doing 7 single crochets, and that's done on purpose. One is because the chain loops stretch a little bit. So if we only did 5 in the space, it might not be enough to cover it. And then we always, whenever we're covering a chain, if you're working traditionally, you should always have an odd number. And the reason being, and even though it doesn't apply in this case, but if you were to do something where you were joining these motifs together, you want to have an odd number, because the odd number allows you, even if you join in 2 spots in those single crochets, it allows you to have a stitch in the middle so you can absolutely measure it dead center. Thanks, Anne. I think it's really pretty too. It is a pretty little stitch. It's just a lot of fun to do too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even if I was just doing 5 chains, it's, you know, the third chain would be the dead center. In this case, stitch number 4 is dead center in this group. So if I was joining motifs, I have a marker where dead center is, so I don't shift things off one way or the other. So does that make sense? It's kind of a little trick of the trade my grandmother taught me. That's just how we did things when we joined. And then as I progressed through learning on my own after, she taught me everything she knew. It's still, a lot of people will use, like, instead of 5, they might do, or instead of 7, they might do 6 or 8. But then when you go to join things, you have to sit there and maneuver trying to get things dead center. So by having an odd number, you get a definitive center place to look at. So if that makes sense, that works. Now, if you're off, because we're not joining anything with these, if you're off by a number, like you do 6 instead of 7, or you do 8 instead of 7, it's not going to hurt anything unless it looks visually off. If it looks visually off, I would recommend ripping out or adding the stitch that you need to add. If you go more than one either way, it may look a lot more funny, because one's going to have a lot of stitches packed into it versus the ones around it. So just so you know. So I'm on the 3rd flower right now. I just want to, come on. I talk and I don't get my stitches done right. 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a lot of single crochets, and that's kind of why I started with a new hank of yarn instead of continuing with the original. Because if this row especially, this is the row where I would run out of yarn probably in this, and I really didn't want an end in the middle of my lace. So that's why I'm doing a whole new skein here. Almost there, guys. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then chain 2, and then single crochet in that single crochet between the 2 flowers, and then chain 2 again, and then we're going to do our last little flower. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and last loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so when you've done your last little flower, and I'll hold it up here in just a second. I just want to finish the edge. When you finish, you're going to have 6 single crochets that are at the end of the row, and you're just going to chain 4, and you're going to go to the very last single crochet on the previous row, and just single crochet in there. So I'm going to fake it here in the middle of the row here. And then you're going to cut your yarn and fasten off and weave in all your ends and block. So that's what it looks like before blocking. I'm showing you the right side of where I did all the single crochets. This shawl, it doesn't really matter which side you like the best to be front or back, because it's pretty symmetrical on both sides. The only thing that looks different is the edging. And I usually call the right side the side that you can see that row of single crochets that's covering the chains. You see the front of those stitches and not the back. That's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it that way. But when you go to block this stitch, what I did when I did the original is I started by, getting everything flat. I did the top edge first, stretched out as far as I wanted it to be. And then what I did was then I went to these points. I went to the center point of each one of these flowers, the center loop, and I pulled those first and got them all nice and even. And then if in that pulling, if I found out that some of these petals on either side were kind of out of whack, then I would pin those. But I didn't pin very many of them. There were just a couple that maybe had a stitch or two tighter that made it look funny when it laid flat. So I pinned those just so that they would block into place. But for the most part, I just did these center ones. And the shawl turned out beautifully. I wish I had a picture to show you. They're all with my photographer. I should have them in the next few days. But that is what your edging looks like. So you've got a nice little base of double crochet to work on, and then you just start making loops and single crochets, and that's all there is to it. Does anybody have any questions on this at all? Kind of like how I'm holding this up to the screen. I kind of like how the tonals are showing up really well in these petals. Because it was a linen, the original shawl was just a spray bottle with water, because I don't like to soak linen. But with this one, I'm going to do a complete wet block on it because it's wool and nylon. Whenever you're blocking something, you need to pay attention to your fibers. Linen and silk especially are not that great when you there's, with the exception of a few brands out there that are meant to be soaked. But for the most part, linen and silk, you should not soak in water. So again, I just did what I did was I'm going to pull this up so you can kind of see the top edge. What I did was first, before I even wet it down, I ran a blocking wire across the top edge where you'd wear around your neck. And what I did was I pinned the center down first, and then I stretched either side to approximately where I wanted it. And I just pinned those corners. It was stretched and not wet, but that's not going to hurt anything. So I just kind of pinned them out, and then I wet that whole section really well with a spray bottle, just to give it enough water to give it the stretch I needed. And then I pinned the rest of it. And then what I do is I take the spray bottle and I spray it out a little bit, but not so that it's soaking wet, just so that it's got enough water in there to give it some give. And then I pin the rest of it out. And then sometimes what I'll do is if it's a fabric that can take heat, I will take my iron, or I have a steamer, but if you don't have a steamer, an iron, and I'll just kind of steam it really quickly just to give it a little bit more water and hold it into place. Because sometimes with a spray bottle, if you're not spraying a whole lot of water on it, it dries really fast and then you can't get your pins in. So or you don't keep your shape as well. It's hard to get it to keep it shaped because you don't want to soak it with cold water. But so if you steam it, and you can kind of use your fingers, like up here where there's the cupping, I use my fingers to kind of push it out. But if you're using, again, wool, acrylic, any sort of animal fiber, you can wet block, soak it. Do the same thing though. I soak it and then I put the blocking wire across the top first. I always do the straight edge first and get that pinned down, and then I can fuss with everything else. Does that make sense? So hopefully, because I got the first row done, I'm kind of hoping that I will have this shawl done before I leave for my aunt's funeral on Monday, and so I can block it. And then next week, when I have my live video, I will show you the finished shawl. So that's my hope. Can't guarantee it, but that's my hope. What else was I going to say? I just lost it. Don't forget that now that we've got clue 4, you have until October 9th to finish your shawl to be entered into the crochet along. Into the giveaway, sorry. The giveaway for the crochet along. I told you my brain sometimes works faster than my mouth. I just found out yesterday, Linda, the rosary is on Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So if you would like to join in, that would be awesome. It's really awesome that you want to do that. I appreciate that so much. Anyway, October 9th is the final day to be able to enter the drawing. And in order to enter the drawing, I say it on the back side of, here it is. On the back side of the clue, there's the chart, and then here it tells you Friday, October 9th, in order to be eligible to win the prize, and you need to post a photo at this link that I have on there. The photo can be it on the blocking board, it can be you wearing it, it could be somebody else wearing it. As long as they can see most of the shawl, it's no big deal. I just want to be able to see that you have completed the shawl. And once you post the picture, you're automatically entered. I am going to probably on the 10th of October, in the morning, I'm going to shut it off. So you might have a couple more hours, just so you know. And once I've shut it off, gosh, I was like, my brain just shut off here for a second. Okay. Once I shut it off, I'm going to try to do the drawing on Saturday. That weekend is my husband's birthday, so I might not be able to do it till Monday. I am going to do it live on Zoom. Not on Zoom, on YouTube, sorry. So chances are it's going to be Monday morning at 9 a.m. I'll let you know as the date gets closer, depending on what we decide to do here for my husband's birthday. So just so you guys know, and I'll draw them, and then that week I will ship them off to all the winners. And in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, make sure to ping me on the forums. And if I knew a couple people were having issues with uploading pictures, even just the work in progress pictures, and if your files are, this is true with tablets, mostly iPads. If you're taking your picture with the iPad, and even sometimes with the cell phone, your pictures are so large as far as how much space they take up, that the system doesn't like them. So you always want to make sure you resize your pictures so that they take up less space before you try to post them. So that's really important. But I'm going to be also live next week. My plan is, even though I will be back late on Tuesday night, knowing me, I will probably be still up early on Wednesday morning. And I'm going to plan to go on at 9. If I don't go on at 9, I'll probably go on at 10. So just so you guys know, the specific time, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. If you're East Coast, that would be noon to 1. Central would be 11 to noon. And then, let's see, Central would be 11 to noon. Eastern or Mountain would be 10 to 11, and then Pacific would either 9 or 10. I'll be going up. So just so you guys know, because I'm on the West Coast, I'm 3 hours behind the East Coast. So it's a little later there for you guys. But other than that, I think we're good today. Hi, Gina. I didn't see you pop in. I'm glad you're here. I decided with the blue, the matchy blue. I don't know. It's something about me with matchy. But there you go. What else do we say? Yes, thanks. Oh, 5 p.m. That's perfect. I mean, anything. Calling happy birthday to my husband. Thank you. I appreciate everybody who's wishing him happy birthday. Dawn says your phone gives you the option to pick the size of the picture before I upload it. That's awesome. Not all phones do that. So, and I'm sure I can do that with my phone too. I just choose not to, not to fuss with it on my phone. Usually what I'll end up doing is when I'm posting is I will download my pictures onto my computer and resize them and then either re-upload them back to my camera or onto my phone and then post is usually what I do. Or I use my desktop scheduler that posts. So, but for the forums, I tend to just go right to my desktop because it's just easier that way for me. Anybody have any questions? I mean, this is very, I mean, it's a lot of simple stitches. It's just knowing where to go. Don't forget that you want to make sure that first row or row, I can never remember, row 30 or row 64, you've got to get those stitch counts right in order for all of your loops to land where they're supposed to. And if row 63 does not have the right number of stitches, which is 397 stitches, your little flowers are not going to sit right. So make sure. Colleen, do I have an Apple Watch? No, I have, this is a Fitbit. This is a Versa 2 Fitbit. I haven't ventured into the Apple Watch yet. Just because I rarely even look at my watch. I do it mostly for the step counts. So, although it does give me a few little dings and whirls and when people text me and stuff like that. So anybody have any questions for me, form-wise, this edging, anything else? I think we're pretty much there. Oh, Gina, I don't know if you were here when I showed everybody that these were going into the goodie bags. So I'm going to put them in after this live is over. Will all the clues be published? Yes, and yes. The way I do my mystery crochet alongs is that you get, for those of you who want to participate as a crochet along, you get the individual clues as we go. And then I'm still waiting on the photography for the original shawl that I did for the crochet along. As soon as I get that, the pattern goes to layout. And as soon as my graphic artist gets the layout done for me, the first thing I do is I get everyone who purchased the registration for the crochet along, whether they participated or not, and I send them an email with the link to how to download the full pattern with everything on it, because that's part of the crochet along is you get the final pattern for free. And there were a couple of questions along the way. So I am going to update those questions, like people who had asked for stitch counts in different places. So there'll be some extra stitch counts in there and stuff like that. And then when you download the pattern, you'll have everything all in one beautiful package that looks like my normal patterns. You're welcome, Anne. No problem. Gina, those magnets are so cute. I always get comments from people in the parking lot. I know they're so cute. I have them right now. I have 2 extras that aren't going to go in the goodie bags. They're sitting on my file cabinet, but I keep thinking that'd be kind of fun to put on my car. I don't know if my husband would be happy with me, but I might do that. So I'm thinking one of them I'll probably pop into another goodie bag for something else. But yeah, I love them. I love yarn anyway. So awesome. Okay, so Linda's good. Anybody else have any questions for me? As far as next week, again, I'll either go on at 9 or 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Just kind of, if I'm not there at 9, check it back again at like 9:30 or whatever, and then see if I have changed the time or whatever. And if I don't go on Wednesday, I will go on Thursday, just so you guys know that as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. Otherwise, I think we're good to go today. I'm going to go ahead and post, I'm going to post this video in the forum so you guys can see it. So I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions on the forum, and I will see you guys next week. Have an awesome one.